Hello, hello. Here we are again coming to you with the Paranormal World Show under the umbrella of Broadcast Team Alpha. And my name is Agi and I'm the host here. And we are coming to you on 44 different platforms around the world, a few TV stations, radios, and a horde of social media. And one of those places is the Conscious Awakening Network. And you got to go over there and see them because they got close to 50 different shows over there that talk about all the stuff that both you and me need to know about. And that will be interesting. And also, I want to let you know how you can get in touch with me if you got questions or get a hold of Nori, my co-host on Broadcast Team Alpha. Go to broadcastteamalpha.com and find the contact feature and send us an email, and we'll get the email and we'll get back to you. So I also have a very interesting guest with me. He had some incredible experiences. And I've been talking with him before we do this recording, and a lot of good stuff is coming out, so we can see if we can cover some of it. He well, it's Scott Varden, and he has been with the U.S. Special Intelligence Service, and he have had many contacts with extraterrestrial beings. He'd been on ships, and he had been visited long before that he was able to remember. And these incredible experiences, I think you're going to like some of it. So, welcome to the show here, Scott.
Thank you, Aggie.
All right.
Good to be here.
Yeah, let's visit some of those things that we were talking about. Now, this date back a long time for you. You told me about a situation when you were born that was so strange that it may explain a little bit about your origin of why you came to Earth this time. Maybe it had a purpose. Maybe elaborate on this a little bit because it was so unique.
Okay. I am Rh negative. My mother wasn't. I was born on November 10th, 1949, as a 6-month preemie.
Mm.
According to the records, both from the hospital and from the records my father kept, because I was the firstborn male, naturally, um, my father would walk from work at the VA in Tupper. They didn't have a car then. And he would naturally come to look into the nursery. And what the records show was as soon as I was brought into the nursery, naturally I had to be in a, what do you call it, an incubator back then. This so called retired Mother Superior from France named Sister Perpetual dragged a rocking chair into the nursery, took me out of the incubator, and would not, according to the records, would not let anyone, including my great uncle, who was chief of staff, who delivered me, nor my parents, anywhere near me. Now, this went on for 3 months to the point where my parents went to my uncle, who actually ended it. Now, as we found out from talking to different people that worked there later in life, in one, after the visit started, I'm just going to give her first name was Sally. She was in charge of records at this hospital. It was the Sisters of Mercy Hospital in Tupper Lake back then. And she told me she remembered reading records But after the hospital closed and they sold it, all these records were transferred to the main category or place of the Sisters of Mercy in Philadelphia. And she said, after we talked, this is like 2 or 3 years ago, that she contacted them and they could find no records at all.
Wow.
So, as they let you remember, because I think the human mind cannot absorb so much paranormal or the reality of life being everything is spiritual and energy, that they only give it to you in baby steps. At least with me, they did,
Yeah.
until that red ship appeared, and then it was constant.
Yeah. What about that? That was the first experience that you were able to or be allowed to remember. Talk about that one when you first had your extraterrestrial first experience you could remember.
Well, the first one was the August before that, which I didn't want to remember until the red ship came. And once the red ship came, they took me aboard and they gave me the thing called the sight. It's in the Hopi legend of the Blue Kachina. It's an injection of monatomic gold and two other elements into your pineal gland, which gave me a wide open pineal gland. Now, I thought it was just at first a visual. When I say visual, I could see your aura right now. I can see your aura, and even though we're on a Zoom, uh, I see people's auras. I see plants' auras. I see animals' auras. Uh, Everybody has a different layer, color layer, or colors to their auras.
Mhm.
Um, but usually there is a base layer when you ask them, like I've learned to ask people when they say, "What color's my aura?" I say, "What's your profession? Is it medical?" And they'd say, "How do you know?" I said, "Because your first layer, like Laura's is, Dr. Laura's, is uh, like a purplish pink. That's the only way I can describe it.
Mm.
And every single person that I've seen that in and that I have asked me, they work in the medical field.
Ah.
So I found that very interesting.
Mm.
Um, as far as the rest goes, baby steps.
Yeah, but when you were on the ship, the red ship, what did it look like inside there? Either that or several rooms, and what about the
Well,
people?
the red ship, it was, let's put it this way. There was a blue light being, and he was totally different than the rest of them. The rest of them looked like older, dignified. That's all I can say. The way they were dressed, it was like long robes, very different than what we're used to as far as clothing. And they were all taller than me, that's for sure. But everything, all the communications were telepathy. There was no verbal talking. Now, that's happened just about in every case, not every single one, but the majority of them.
Mm.
Um, all I remember is when they brought me, after they taught me the device on the outside and everything, when they brought me on the inside, first thing I can remember, it was like everything glowed in this, that red, as a ship is, this reddish color, pinkish color.
Mhm.
And, but yet you knew that you were inside like a carved crystal. That's all I can explain it as. There were no sharp edges. Everything was basically smooth. Um, they brought me in and they laid me on like a table, which was basically a crystal. Or at least that's what it looked like, in the sense that it was clear like glass, but again, no sharp corners or edges. And it seemed like it pulsed or glow of that same energy, reddish, pink, purplish color that the ship interior was like. The next thing I can remember is I'm at outside the ship looking into the empty captain's chair. The next thing, I am back exactly where they took me from, on the side of the house. The ship moved to the northeast sky and parked. I naturally I was excited and shocked at the same time. I ran into the house. I woke Laura up and I said, "Babe, you got to see this. Something just happened. Get dressed. It's cold out." I went to the kids' room, and we were living next to the airport then. We had moved out of Clarkson, naturally. And they couldn't wake up. Now, every time the ship came, the 3 times the red ship came, they could not wake up to witness it. So Laura came down with me. We went outside, and I said to her, I pointed to it, and I said, "Look it. Isn't that gorgeous?" She said, "Oh my God, Scott, it's beautiful." The next thing I know, she's gone. The ship's gone, except the red streak is overhead. So I followed it. And of course, knowing my location and being brought up in that area and actually spending time at Fort Drum in the past, I knew that the ship was directly over Fort Drum. Next thing I know, it's back and Laura's back. She looks at me, I look at her, and I said, "Where did you go?" She says, "That was the most amazing experience. What is going on, Scott?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just trying to put two and two together." I explained to her what happened earlier with the other 2 guys. And so we stood there and we watched this happen, even though the first time they took her, we stood there and watched the ship jump a total of 12 times. But as I found out, when they went over Fort Drum, they shut everything down. Now, that was the September visit.
Yeah.
So, but every night after that, now, so let's just stay on this track. The very next morning, we're up early. She's making breakfast. I was setting up my equipment to communicate with the people I had to work with. As soon as I got my computer set up online, I got a request for a Zoom conference with 2 Israeli Mossad agents that I've known from my past. So I accepted it, a man and a woman. I'm not going to mention names. So I said, "Hey guys, what's up?" And they said, "We're out in LA. I said, "I figured you're raising money like you did over Munich to go after the terrorists this time who built the tunnels, right?" "Yes, Scott, we are." I said, "Okay." I said, "So, wait a minute. Why did you call me?" They said, "Scott, we know." I said, "You know what?" They said, "We know who's visiting you." I said, "What?" They said, "We know who's visiting you." So I said, "You're calling in your favor." He said, "Exactly, Scott." Now, here's what I said to him at first. I said, "Look it, I got 3 cases. I'm going nowhere till they're done." He said, "What are they?" I told him what they were. "If you would like me to tell you, I will." Number one, the Gardner Museum robbery. I solved that. I've sent you the proof. Number two, there's two kids, both of them indirectly related to my life. Both of them hidden by New York State Police in the area Troop B where I live. Both cases I solved. Almost cost me my life both times. So the guy says to me, Scott, he said, we understand. We'll see you when you're done. I said, okay, thank you. You will. I said, the reason I owe them, when I got shot, I'm lucky I'm alive. The third hospital I was medevac to, the man who did every burn case in the 67 war, Israeli Mossad Major, Dr. Charles Barney, is the one who saved my life and put my face back together. So I've had multiple surgeries. I still need more because I took one round right here.
Wow.
You can see, oh yeah. And here, with the cross from the Hopis, is this fragment, the largest fragment that they could get out, behind my left eye. Years later, I actually came home from Orlando as this misdiagnosed as a brain tumor behind my eye.
Mm.
I was rear-ended the summer before visiting my hometown. The bullet started moving. No one had a clue. It had been in there so long. I was actually doing the hospital complex with paving stone, and a friend of mine hooked me up with these doctors. One of the doctors' best friend from med school was a world expert in Burlington, where my records were anyway.
So you had some good help. That,
Thank God. Or
yeah.
I've had 21 major surgeries. I took two in the stomach.
Oh,
I was down to 96 pounds for 2 years. So, and
yeah.
again, it was because of who saved me. They called in their favor. These people knew.
Yeah.
But here's the point. He said, Scott, I have to go. I said, I understand. He said, but she has a list for you. Now, I have a thing with facial recognition that I'm an expert on. And I assumed they were a list of photographs. Instead, it's this list. It says 150 enlightened people with 9 main at the top with 3 stars, 149 others with 1 star. So I said to my wife, I said, Laura, what is this? She was listening to the conversation. So she got on her computer and Googled enlightened people. I said, this must be a joke.
Yeah.
She goes, no, it's not. An enlightened person is a messenger. That's all they are.
Yeah.
That they'll come back. Okay. Christ wasn't enlightened, but that wasn't his name. When you
Right.
look at Christ's history through the Akashic Records and through the skip code from the original Torah and or the clay tablet records, you will see that the individual who genetically engineered human beings' name was Enki, the eagle.
Yeah.
Okay? As I found out, that is my soul.
Mm-hmm.
However, as I found out with the help of some other government people, that I have incarnated 100 times to come back, each time as a different being. And I think people recognize them from all over the world where this being appeared and tried to give the message of life, which we both know is love,
Yeah.
forgiveness, okay? Something that humans have a hard time comprehending.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly believe, from what I've been shown and told, and I'll tell you why. The very next night, like I get told to go out 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. The very next morning, there was nothing but angels from horizon to horizon returning to Earth. A trumpet blew. 5 came down to see me. I knew 4 of them immediately. It took me a while to figure out the third little girl. We don't have to go into that, but this is what happens when you get visited.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, the site allows me to see this.
Hmm. So that's what happens when you activate
Can you
the
blame?
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
now you also mentioned that you had a look at one room where there was medical records that come from the Akashic Records.
Yes, that
Where?
was where. Okay, so now Laura's the one who does that on a regular basis. With me, I was brought up on a ship. Okay, this was had to be in 215. It was a different ship. It looked like the walls in this room were white quartz, and that was where the light came from. However, I was greeted by a man that looked like that old guy in Star Wars there with the brown robe.
Uh-huh.
Okay, except this guy. When I say I've never seen anything as old as this in my life, that's an understatement. So he greets me as I come into the room and he takes me by the hand. Okay, in this room, there was a silver table with 2 chairs. He pulled out a chair. I sat down. He went away, the other side of the table, and he sat down. He pulled his hood off. All I could do is stare in amazement. Just then, a male and a female came in. The male was carrying a tray. On the tray, there were several things, including a vial. There was some stuff to clean off, like an arm, like when you're getting a shot, and a needle and a injection thing. And so they greeted me. Just all I could do is bow my head. I mean, here I am, still trying to get used to this new introduction to reality. And she took like alcohol and a pad off the tray, came over, put on the table. She put his sleeve up on his left side and then wiped an area on his arm. She went back to the guy holding the tray. She took the vial and she took the needle and she drew up a certain amount into this, you know, injection. She went over to him and she injected it into his arm. Now I'm watching this because naturally I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Before my eyes, this guy reversed aging. And when I say reverse aging, I'm
Hmm.
still shocked about what. See, because when it happens like this, it burns it into your mind. I can close my eyes and see it right now. That's the Akashic Records. So I'm thinking, wow, this is neat. And the next thing I know, he gets up, takes me by the hand. We go to the where I came in, and boom, I'm back on Earth.
Hmm.
So naturally, I explained everything to Laura, but neither of us understood this
Yeah.
until what I sent you that came out of the Osho's Book of Wisdom,
Hmm.
where he says that the person, the enlightened, will gain, well, is going through hell on earth, basically, as it says. I'm not the only one, though.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm the only one who 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 has already received immortality. In other words, that red ship is mine. that blue light being incarnated into this soul, this body.
Mm.
I came with the gifts I have. I know how to fold space and stop time. I know how to build it. I know what it's made out of. We cannot build the Star of Bethlehem. Okay, that travels like you wouldn't believe, but it can go interdimensional and everything.
Yeah.
Recently, okay, so I asked them to come back. They've shown me everything. I have two beautiful grandkids in this world, and that's it. I have one son. Scotty Joe, who married in the Irish mob, is not my child. I raised two of Laura's children also. But the thing is, I was shown different timelines.
Uh-huh. What happened in those?
Well, in one of them, it was the end of the world. In one of them, I saw my grandchildren in the Olympics,
Mhm.
one winter, one summer.
Mhm.
I also have been visited when I've been in Boston with my grandchildren, and it was witnessed every single time by the same people who have been following me all my life because of the Rh negative blood test when I was born. And the reason I can say this is because I did a program years ago that was on the internet. It was an interview. I talked about 7 NDEs. After that aired, I was contacted by an individual from the agency who was assigned to me after birth. And this is what he said to me. He said, Scott, he said, you're full of shit. I said, what are you talking about, bud? He said, Scott, you've had 30 NDEs. I need you to go back and go ever through everything, and you will, trust me, he said, you will remember each one of these. And he was right. Now, I've been shot. I took 3 rounds. There's no reason I should have lived. I coded 3 times before I even got to Burlington. I've had 21 major surgeries in 14 years. 3 times I've coded on the table. Why am I still here?
Maybe that's the reason.
Well, I hope the reason is, and I'm quite sure, because you can find it like I did in 3 books: Atlantic Under the Ice, The Night the Sky Fell, and Velikovsky's book, Earth in Upheaval.
Mhm.
I'll start with Velikovsky's book. I'll give you a quote from it.
Yeah.
This is when he was talking about all these different geological and these other changes on Earth and civilizations past and all this. He talked about the Inuits
Mhm.
on the west coast of the United States and Canada. This is what he said, they said. During these times when other heavenly bodies were traversing the inner solar system, and earthquakes and volcanoes were horrible all over the world. All of a sudden, the Inuits said they saw the sky come close to Earth. Therefore, they decided to install totem poles around their villages to hold the sky up in case it happened again, their villages wouldn't get crushed. When I went to Alaska to fulfill a promise to my father in 215, with some of the original 10th Mountain Division and some active, I spent a week with my sister out in the Seattle area. We went traveling out on the Olympic Peninsula. And on the Olympic Peninsula, there are Inuit villages still intact on the shore with totem poles around them. If you can fold space, you can move a planet out of danger.
Yeah.
The Inuits witnessed that happening because after that happened, according to them, the earthquakes and the volcanoes quieted down.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went looking elsewhere and I found that in other ancient documents also, but they didn't know what they were witnessing. But they did say it looks like the sky fell or the stars fell towards Earth, but they didn't come to Earth. Now, we also have this situation where every so many thousands of years, we go through, which I believe is going to be tomorrow night, the Perseid meteor shower,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Where supposedly in the past, according to, I forget what his name is, I have to remember, he does a lot of research, very smart man, that the Younger Dryas was caused by going through this meteor shower, where according to him, according to the research that we found since then, that we had been through an ice age. Not the whole earth wasn't covered with ice, but a great percentage of it was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When we went through this area, apparently we got struck by lots of different meteors and small asteroids and some large ones who's left scars in the earth, which we can see now with the proper satellite equipment.
Yep.
Which means they probably moved our, what do you call it, our orbit back to where the earth warmed up quickly along with these strikes. The evidence is the Finger Lakes
Yeah.
and all, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All these washes like out west, Salt Lake City, that area. When you study geology, and I'm multi-degree, and my professor at Potsdam State actually had a seismograph machine at the university because of that big earthquake years ago in Cornwall, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
which actually destroyed buildings in the St. Lawrence River Valley, especially Messina. Now, when you look at the Earth change maps or the Navy maps, what does that show about the St. Lawrence River opening up to the Adirondacks? The Adirondacks and the Green Mountains sit on the Canadian Shield, which is still rising from being covered by hundreds of feet or miles of ice.
Yeah.
According to that study, which I got sucked into working on, to be honest with you, in 2011, the Adirondacks and the Greens are going to rise straight up 700 to 900 feet. Whereas some of these other areas, like, why is there an oxbow on the upper Mississippi north of Memphis? When you look at the geological map, you will see there's slip faults directly underneath there.
Hmm.
Also, just outside of Tupper Lake, upriver, there's an oxbow. Now, I was asked to go back up to the Adirondacks last summer when they had the total eclipse. When you look at the path that eclipse took, it passed directly over both oxbows.
Hmm.
That's what
So,
I said.
so what do you think ended the ice age then? Was that a gradual thing, or was it just something that hit that changed things?
I from the evidence from the person that we both know, I forget what his name is, But everything that he's shown and the larger groups as he's now that he has followings, it was rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean civilization rebounded that quick,
No.
but the earth rebounded quicker than civilization naturally. Now, here's another thing that I saw that he just posted. He found a layer, he calls it black mud. This is out west in the Pacific Northwest where all those washes came through. Below that, they find the spear tips of the Clovis people. Now, what I posted today is obviously the Clovis people were not punished for having nukes and using nukes. Okay?
Mm.
So, what happened? A natural thing in our solar system where the inbound binary system comes through, they say, on a 3,600 year cycle.
Yep.
But what I have found is that the calendars have been changed so many times. But the main thing is when you look back at the dates when they say the last thing occurred versus how they dated back then with a 28-day moon calendar versus what? 365-day sun
Yeah.
calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many years in 5 days does it take to make the calendar correct as far as the 3,600 year period compared to the last time the system came through,
Yeah.
which is basically what, 2,000 years ago? So five, that's how many days? So 2,000 times five is
Well,
10,000 days divided by what calendar? The moon calendar or the 365-day calendar?
the moon calendar was long before the Gregorian calendar showed up. So,
And who changed it and why?
yeah, the Pope made a declaration and he omitted quite a serious amount of time off of the calendar. So, yeah, you're right. We have been manipulated by the calendar, and who knows what was manipulated before that. So we really don't know. I ran the numbers on the Nibiru system from the time that, when Noah had his problems.
Right?
And according to that, we're not even close to having them yet. But I also found other papers when I did the research for one of my books. I saw that in 1006 BC, there was a period of time when there was upheavals. Rocks were coming out of the sky all the time. And that was 1006 BC. Now we got 2025. That makes it 3,600 years.
Precisely.
So now we got a challenge on our hand because people are they're getting up early in the morning, turning east, and take pictures of the sun as soon as it comes above the horizon. And there's two suns there.
I've seen it. I've been off
Yep.
planet so many times.
Yeah.
And secondly, I saw recently where there's someone's posting pictures of two suns in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Now, don't forget, part of the old prophecies and everything, I've read where it says one day the sun will rise in the west. Now, that could mean only one of two things. Either after a pole shift, someone recorded what they thought was the sun rising, but it rose in the west because of reorientation of their location, and or they
Yeah.
both rose. Okay, I mean, to me, and I use this with when I access the Akashic records. It's much easier to ask a yes or no question to get on to the next phase of your investigation.
Yeah.
And I am very impatient. Like when I work a case and I know that I'm on to something, and people don't want to answer yes or no, I find that evasive.
Yeah.
And of course, this is what I ran into earlier in my career when I was introduced to being the ambassador to the mafia.
Oh,
Um, but as we both know, Scotty Joe married Jonathan O'Connor in Boston, working for my son Jace.
yeah.
And she married the grandson of little John O'Connor.
Yeah.
This is why the guys, every time I have a meeting, they laugh. Um, and here, now my in laws are sons of little John O'Connor, whose older brother tried to kill me 3 times.
Yeah. Somebody wants you gone, but they're
Yeah,
not
but not
succeeding.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I saved their lives, and I did. I
Yeah.
pissed off some people, but the reason I did it, and I told Comey this, who was laundering money at HSBC, that my friends were flying that cocaine in '87. But I told him, hands off, and he said, "Why, Scott?" He said, that family tried to kill you." I said, "I don't care." I said, "They learned their lesson." He said, "Well, what's your problem?" I said, "Jim," I said, "we had the French, the Portuguese, and the Spanish to finance our revolution against um, Britain, right?" Yeah.
Mm.
I said, "Britain has been brutal to the Irish for eons,
Yeah.
even when the Druids lived there." I said, "They had no one. These men put their family, their lives, everything, their business on hold
Yeah.
to raise money for the IRA to go against the king and queen, and I don't blame them one single bit." So I said, "Hands off. You want the paintings back? I'll get them back. They're back on shore, by the way."
Mm-hmm.
It's a long story how we did it, but I
Yeah.
tell you, I couldn't have done it without Interpol and every other European intelligence agency, which I am so thankful of. I can't believe that they went to this extreme. So the thing is my deal stands. The guy, Karen Wilson's dad, was in charge of nuclear weapons at the base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we know everything, how it happened, and they've moved the body since then, but we got that solved too. Thank God for the Akashic records, I tell you that much. But the
Yeah.
thing is, we found out, not through me, through these other people that I worked with that decided they had enough of the corruption in New York State.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why it's taking longer. But back to us. We know the earthquakes and volcanoes are getting worse.
Yeah.
We
They
know what Ed Kershazy said. We know what Dolores Cannon has said.
mm-hmm. Yeah. There are
The
people.
gifts, the gifts came with conditions, and the conditions basically are, with I hope, with what is going on. To simplify it, take out the garbage. Yes, the cabal, the Illuminati, and get back on the purpose of path of life, which is to be in service to others.
Yes, that's what it's all about. And I see now that we are getting down towards the end here. So now, didn't you and you had a book out that you wanted to?
Well, Laura's book is her PhD thing. Mine is an edit. The
Okay.
book, okay, I am under written orders from the assignment office, U.S. Army assignment office, to get the book done. And of course, there's a movie deal involved in it. And
Okay. Well, then,
that's what I'm working on. And
yeah.
unfortunately, I'm going to have this shoulder surgery because I'm right-handed, and this is probably the most painful injury I've ever had in my life.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Of course,
Well,
I'm
then
75 now, so.
we can always talk about that another time too. So,
Hmm.
gosh,
So
this,
basically, yeah, basically, we both know that the system is inbound, and we both know it's up to the humans to awaken their consciousness and encourage, not encourage, but we have to force our governments to do the right thing. Because even though there is a huge multi-government operation of people in my field, and it has been going on ever since 215,
yeah,
because when I briefed the 65 from the Space Force that flew into Fort Drum, I was introduced by an old friend who I knew years ago, who was a provost marshal then at Fort Drum. And after that, when I briefed, I can only say it's number 2 in blue.
yeah,
The provost marshal left and went to Gitmo. And yes, we are running and have been running trials for quite a while again on treason. And yes, it's expanded to 2 other offshore bases.
okay. Well, then that will be for the next show because we got to go this time. And then you sent me some incredible pictures too, and I'm gonna see if I can get to post some of those so people can see it. And
I will send you some more, sir.
okay, sounds good. And
Thank you
then,
very much.
yeah. And then, if you watch us on YouTube right now, please subscribe if you like what you hear. And then, until next time, be good to each other.